What's up guys, YST here and welcome back to another Raid Shadow Legends video. And today, we're on the test server to showcase a new faction from the Nyrison Union in the SYLVAN Watchers. And you may have seen from the thumbnail, there's also 14 new champions to coincide with this. So we're going to have 11 from the new faction, we've got 1 from the Shadowkin, 1 from the Bannerlords, and then also the Morrigaine fusion, which should be starting on the 27th of this month. Now, I am kind of expecting this faction to drop at the same time, so that's exciting. We've also got new buffs coming to the game, like buffs themselves from Champions kits. We've got new forge pieces and buffs to pieces that we've already got in the game as well. So in this video, I'll be breaking all of those champions down, so it will be a bit of a long one. So grab your coffee. In this case, I got Yoda. One of my nieces bought me this. And yeah, let's get into it. So SYLVAN Watchers, as you see here, they all look outstanding, but how does the kit replicate their looks? But let's talk about the faction as a whole, because I'm excited to read this out here. So to climb the high jungles of the Mistwood is to climb into your own grave. Spooky. If the beasts don't kill you, the SYLVAN surely will, and the SYLVAN court follows its own laws, and the Watchers obey without question. The tree city of Nyrison is open to outsiders, but it is not without dangers. Insulting the fairy, it's trivially simple and absolutely deadly. Alright, let's see if you live up to the hype, guys. So, Elva Autumnborn, what an aesthetic, and let's just pay close attention to the art here, because that is a big thing in Raid Shadow Legends, right? Amazing. They look so good, it blows me away. Like, look, even like the backgrounds, I think this is one of the best backgrounds in the game. Right? There's just so much going on. Wicked. Alright, let's go into the kit. It's going to be a bit of a long video, YST. What are you doing just looking at champions? So with the Scepter of Thriving, attacks one enemy, places a 15% continuous heal buff for 2 turns on the ally with the lowest HP. So, decent A1, we got a continuous heal buff. Okay, I like it. On the Nature's Path, has a 100% chance once booked of removing all debuffs from all allies, so a full out cleanse, and then places a block debuff buff and a 30% increased speed buff on all allies for 2 turns. That's insane, man. Guys, that is insane. Like, when you think about increased speed champions, this plays a really crucial role. Even for Demon Lord Clan Boss, this really screams out, because you're removing all the debuffs for 1, you're then placing block debuffs and increased speed. I think that's a pretty phenomenal A2 there for a magic champion for sure. Sprouting Season revives a target ally with 40% HP and 50% turn meter, then places an increased defense and increased attack buff on that ally for 2 turns. This champion is remarkable. Like, wow, what a way to start this video off. I actually didn't manage to read all of the kits over the weekend when we got access because I was working. I got myself a new puppy as well, which I should be showing on a live stream soon. So yeah, lots going on, so it's kind of new for me as well. With the Leaf Shroud, I think that's how you say it, heals each ally by 10% of their max HP at the start of their turn, and places a perfect veil buff for 1 turn on the ally with the lowest HP at the start of this champion's turn. Overall, I'm actually a huge fan of this one. Really big fan. I like it. But as we're going, guys, let me know which one is your favorite, which one you want me to showcase the most, because I should be able to showcase every single champion on this list over the next 2 weeks. So, according to your guys' comments below, I'll kind of take it in that order on which ones I'm going to showcase. But alright, we've got King Caliber. Yeah? No, King Galcaba. There we go. I like his aesthetic here. Look at that. It's like a python. But alright, what do you do, buddy? With a Tangle Staff, attacks one enemy, places a shield buff for 2 turns on the ally with the lowest HP, and the value of that shield is equal to 15% of the ally's max HP. With the Vitriolic Thorns, it can do an AoE ability that has a 100% chance of removing all buffs. Okay, I like that. Then places a 5% poison debuff for 2 turns on each enemy for every buff removed from them. Has an 80% chance of placing a block buffs as well on all enemies for 1 turn. Now that's a nice skill on a 2-turn cooldown. Or should I say 3-turn cooldown. I like that. With a Hypertrophy, will remove all debuffs from all allies and places a 15% continuous heal buff for 1 turn on each ally for every debuff removed from them. Then places a shield buff on all allies for 2 turns, and the value of the shield is proportionate to this champion's max HP, or 25% of it. Nice little support champion, I really like this. But with the Bramble Shaman, whenever an enemy under a poison debuff attacks an ally under a shield buff, instantly activates one of the poison debuffs on the enemy. And activates a continuous heal. Okay, wait, does it have to be... Damn, that's pretty decent. I'm trying to think of specific places where I feel like this will come into play. But as of now, the instant activation of the poisons is really, really interesting. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. But as of now, I'm trying to think of like dungeon clearing and all that stuff. But we shall see how that goes. Alright, with the Green Warden Rurik. Look at this guy. Oh, he's got that face that's in the background. You see that? So he's there, and then there's one here with the eyes closed as well. I thought that was a lightsaber for a second. But alright. Sword of Glades attacks one enemy, transfers all debuffs from this champion to a target, and heals this champion by 5% of their max HP for each debuff transferred. So a nice little heal and transferring on that A1 ability. With the Rust Consume, does a AoE, which has a 100% chance once booked of placing a 50% decreased attack debuff for 2 turns. So a bit of average skill that we see on many champions at the moment, but also steals all continuous heal buffs from each enemy. This effect cannot be resisted. Okay. Where would you guys use this? Let me know, but the stealing of continuous heals, which cannot be resisted, meaning you don't need accuracy, but you will need accuracy for decreased attack. So it's a bit of a clash of abilities here. Like for me, for a non-resistible skill like this, it's like, if you're building it with accuracy anyway for like one of their main abilities, I guess for like the higher ends of like maybe Doom Tower or something like that, or Faction Wars, I don't know. You guys let me know. But here we go. So here is the new buff that I was talking about, and while we're on the topic, I'll read out what it does. But places a taunt buff and a 60% increased defense buff and a 25% strengthen buff on this champion for 2 turns. Now, let me just get this out so I don't read it wrong. So the new buff is called Taunt, as we just seen from the gear set, and 2 of the new champions from the SYLVAN Watchers will have this buff in Green Warden and Duoden. We should be seeing that champion very soon. And just a bit about how it works. So if a champion is under a taunt buff, enemies can only target that champion, but if there are several champions under a taunt buff on the same team, enemies can target any of the taunting champions. When using AoE attacks, enemies can target all champions just like normal. But if they're using single targets, I believe, they'll only target the taunting one. But when I'm doing playtesting, I guess we can playtest that a bit more. It just reads a little bit weird here for me. So yeah, when using AoE attacks, only the champion under the taunt buff can be targeted, but their allies will still take damage from AoEs. The provoked debuff has a priority over the taunt buff, meaning a provoked champion will still only be targeted by the champion who placed provoke on them, rather than anyone under the taunt buff. So I guess the provoke will still outpower the taunt if they're both out at the same time. And in addition, if there are any champions under taunt buff on a team, it will supersede any other champion buffs that affect targeting like Veil or Perfect Veil, meaning that champions under both taunt and Veil buffs can still be targeted. But if a champion is under a Veil and a taunt, and then there's one just under a taunt, then the target will only attack the taunt champion first. It's kind of how I'm understanding this. The taunt buff cannot be spread and its duration cannot be increased, but it can be stolen, removed, and its duration can be decreased. So that's kind of like a first glance and insight of the taunt buff, but as I said, over the next 2 weeks, I'll be testing this out a lot. And then on the Night of Vines, whenever an ally loses 10% or more of their max HP from a single hit, places a shield buff on the ally for 2 turns equal to 10% of their max HP. So interesting champion, one of the only 2 champions with the taunt buff, and I'm excited to try him out. So alright, the next champion is going to be Aelil, and he looks amazing. He's got a bit of a Rudolph vibe going on his head. I don't know what's going on. Some antlers. But yeah, this champion I think is going to be one of the best in the game. When I first read his kit, it was like, it blew me away. So on the Gnarl of Scythe, attacks one enemy, steals all buffs from the target the first time this champion hits them with this skill. The effect cannot be resisted. So when you think about the opening turn of a PvP battle, stealing all buffs from a target that cannot be resisted is insane, right? It's crazy. Each subsequent time this attack hits an enemy, no buffs will be stolen. So that is the downside, but instead the damage will be increased by 10% for each buff on the target. So I really like this A1 here. Now with the periods of a Carapace attacks one enemy, watch this guys, will ignore Strengthen, Stone Skin, increased defense, and ally protection buffs. Are you reading this? This is like a 1, depending on the damage scaling of this ability here, this is going to change PvP, I think, personally, and it's nuts. Look at this. If the attack kills an enemy, fully heals this champion and places a Stone Skin buff on themselves for 1 turn. So you go in there, you nuke somebody, right? We'll ignore all of those buffs, and then if you kill them, we'll then put Stone Skin on your champion. What kind of skill is this? It's nuts. It's actually, that's a game changer ability in my opinion. And then when you wait for the A3 here, with the Chill Wind of the Autumn, attacks all enemies, before attacking, removes any increased defense buffs from each target and replaces them with a drop defense for 2 turns. Also removes any strengthen buffs on each target and replaces them with a weaken. Then places a block buff steamer for 1 turn on enemies under increased defense or strengthen before attacking. And wait for this bit here, guys. The buff removal and the debuff placement cannot be resisted. I don't know what to say. Seriously, this is crazy. You got an AoE of non-resistible crazy abilities here. And then you've also got the ignoring of all of this stuff on the A2 and then placing a Stone Skin on yourself. And you can open up with a steal on the A1. Like, what more do you want from a champion? I guess a passive, right? So increases this champion's HP by 2,000 and defense by 100 for every 1,000 attack that they have. Now, traditionally, as an attack-based champion, let's just say you get around 6,000 attack, right? So you'll be getting like 10,000 HP and 500 defense, I guess, times it by 5 or 6. Just really guess how much you can scale up your champion, but also fills this champion's turn meter by 10% whenever they receive a buff. So if you're opening up with crazy buffs, he's going to fill his turn meter, cut in from those speedy champions, lead through, kaboom, lead through again, kaboom. I want this dude. Base stats really nice as well. 105 base speed, 63% crit damage. I like him. Phenomenal champion. What was his base attack? 1,630. Okay. Alright, this video is stretching on a lot more than I kind of wanted. I've got 1 hour to get this video out because I'm late today. So, a Cormac of the High Peak. Let's just break these ones down a bit more quickly. I think the legendary ones I wanted to spend more time on there. So, attacks one enemy, has a chance of placing decreased speed. I think that's phenomenal for an A1 ability. On the A2 with the High Peak, so Reach attacks one enemy. Before attacking, has a 75% chance of placing a drop defense. Kind of a normal skill that we see on a bunch of champions, but this is before attacking. So when you think about affinities, this is really, really strong. But it is only on a single target. It then places a 50% increased accuracy and crit rate buff on this champion for 3 turns and grants an extra turn. So that's pretty solid. You can open up with this for the Iron Twins, lead into the drop defense or decrease speed and make sure that you get that debuff placement. Then we've got an attack in all battles by 20% and he looks amazing, just like the other champions. So this is Duodon and he is huge. Wow, looks like something out of World of Warcraft. Damn. Look at him. But yeah, basically this should be the second champion on the list with the taunt buff that we've seen from the previous champion. So with the Lure of Fools, has a chance of placing taunt buff on this champion for 1 turn. And places a 25% strengthen buff and a counterattack buff on this champion for 2 turns. So that's really solid. Then an AoE that can place a shield buff on all allies for 2 turns. And then we have a 50% chance of removing 1 random debuff from all allies. So great aesthetics, really nice A3 here, I guess. And look forward to playtesting that champion. Next up, we got the Mistrid Deity. Reminds me of Legolas from Lord of the Rings. Briar Arrows attacks one enemy, 50% chance of removing a random buff, and a 10% chance of granting an extra turn. That's pretty solid for an A1. AoE that has a 100% chance once booked of placing a drop defense and grants an extra turn if the drop defense is placed on all enemies by this skill. That's actually pretty nice. What's the E3? Places a 50% increased attack and increased accuracy buff on this champion for 3 turns and grants an extra turn. This is actually pretty interesting. I wonder what the scalability on this A1 is. Because if you open up with this, right, increase attack, lead into this one with the drop defense, and then lead in with the extra turn if you place them all with the A1, it could be a bit of fun synergy there with loads of extra turns and maybe even relentless gear sets. Bit of a fun champion there. Next up, we got the Misiliac Priest Ornn. He looks like Raiden with a mask on. He reminds me of Nock from Rainbow Six Siege. But attacks one enemy, has a chance of placing poison. That's nice on an A1 ability. And then attacks one enemy 2 times and instantly activates 1 5% poison from each hit. That's really nice as well. I like that. And then AoE has a 100% chance of placing 2 5% poison debuffs and a poison sensitivity for 2 turns on an AoE. Then heals his champion by 5% of their max HP for each poison debuff placed by this skill. This could be a new solo champion. Potentially, because if you're getting that much poisons out and he's healing by those values, whenever a poison debuff is activated by an enemy, increases his champion's HP and defense and stacks up to 25% and resets each round. I don't know, I think this is going to be a really fun epic champion. Let me know what you guys think about that one. And HP based as well. So next up is Ruella. And she looks really nice as well. Harassment Volley attacks one enemy 3 times to a triple hit A1, where each critical hit has an 80% chance of stealing 5% of the target's turn meter. Damn, that's actually significant, guys. 100% chance once booked. So you come through, crack the shield of the Fire Knight, and then you've also got up to a 15% turn meter every single time you use this. That's insane, I think. Please say you got decreased speed in your kit. Oh, she does. Wait, wow. Attacks one enemy 3 times. Each hit has a chance of placing drop defense, a weaken, and a 30% decreased speed. Builds the turn meters of all allies by 20% and places an increased crit rate. Guys, this right here is a game-changing epic champion. Holy crap. Triple hit, increased turn meter. That's everything you want for Dark Fae, and it's everything you want for the Fire Knight. And that's actually a champion I would actually fully max on my account. Damn, 112 base speed as well. What a champion. What a champion. Okay, so this one here was actually my favorite epic from the bunch, but that one there actually blew me away. White Dryad Nia. Guys, are you ready for this kit? AoE, decreased speed on the A1 ability. Where was this on the fusion? Has a 30% chance of placing it and up to a, what was that? 50% chance once booked. Now this was the skill that I wanted for the fusion, where I said a 50-50 decreased speed would have been amazing. Then with the Riotous Revival, can remove all debuffs from a target ally, then heals them by 40% of their max HP. If the target of the skill is not this champion, decreases the cooldowns of all target skills by 2 turns. I really like this. Of course, it's on a 3-turn cooldown, but if you actually manage to get this out a lot, I can see a lot of play with this. But then places a 50% ally protection buff and also a strengthen buff on all allies for 2 turns. Guys, we've got decreased speed A1, we've got the removing and resetting of the target skills by 2 turns on the A2 with a substantial heal. We've then got ally protection and strengthen, and whenever this champion is healed, heals each ally except this champion by 20% of that heal. This is a phenomenal Void epic champion in my opinion, and I can't wait to use her. Next up is Kate. I might think that she may be the fusion rare. Don't quote me on that, but she is the only rare from the bunch today, so I'm kind of assuming this will be the one. So with the Pathfinder Kate, with the Dragon line, A1 block buffs, 30% chance of increasing the cooldown of a random skill on each target by 2 turns on an AoE, and a perfect veil buff on this champion for 1 turn whenever they kill an enemy. So kind of anxious to see if she can hit hard with this A3 here, or A2. But pretty sweet aesthetics, and overall as a faction, I think there are some really unique kits in this faction for sure. So, all right, next champion on the list, we're going to be out of there and straight into the Banner Lords. We have got the Lady Annabelle. What a sight. Looks crazy. But what do you know what, guys? Let me know which champion from the list today you think will be the Fusion Epic. Or do you think there'll be multiples? I'm not sure yet, because they don't really tell us that stuff. But with the Covetous Nails, attacks one enemy 2 times. Each hit heals this champion by 3% of their max HP. AoE with a 100% chance of placing a leech debuff for 2 turns and has a 100% chance of placing a decreased speed for 2 turns with targets less than 50% turn meter. Okay, I like that. I just wish that it wasn't a turn meter thing. If that was just an outright leech and decreased speed, I would actually think this is phenomenal. It still kind of is, to be honest, for an epic. But yeah, I don't know. I'm in 2 minds about this one. Swaps HP with a target ally if this champion's HP is equal to or higher than the target's after the swap. Places a revive and death buff on the target ally for 2 turns if this champion's HP is lower than the target after the swap. Then places a revive and death buff on this champion for 2 turns. And an increased speed buff on all allies for 3 turns. Or 2 turns, sorry. That's an interesting AE3 there. I like that. I guess a bit unique. I'm definitely going to playtest this one, for sure. Heals this champion with 50% of their HP whenever an ally or enemy dies. Now that's crazy. Where's the cooldown? Oh. That's actually pretty nutty. Healing it by 50% every time someone dies. I'm trying to think of places where this will be used. Guys, let me know where you would use this champion. It seems, I feel like there's more that meets the eye with the synergy here. Well, it's something that I'll break down in a future video, I guess. But if I was to guess, I think that she might be the epic. Unless they put one of the new SYLVAN watches in there. But only time will tell, right? Shadowkin. Who's ready? Mishinaki. What a champion. And this is actually to be the one that I might showcase first. So stay tuned for that. So, attacks one enemy, 50% chance of placing HP burn, debuff for 2 turns. And wait, what am I doing here? This is Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider V2. Who knows about that guy from Marvel? But yeah, 50% chance of placing HP burn. Watch how this scales here. Then on the die hall, attacks all enemies. 100% chance of placing a 60% drop defense debuff for 2 turns. And a 100% chance of placing a decreased attack on targets under Hex. Right? Now, I know what you guys are thinking. You might not be a fan of Hex, but watch this. Attacks all enemies 2 times. The first hit removes all buffs from each target. So you can remove the buffs from the Hydra heads, for instance. The second hit places Hex debuff for 2 turns. Okay? All comes into full effect with this passive, guys. The Courtier of Curses, whenever an ally attacks an enemy under a Hex debuff, this champion has a 50-50 shot to team up with the attack with the ally. Do you know how insane this is? Because he's got a burn on his E1. So if you put the Hex out, right? It'll then enable him to place the drop attack, then the drop defense, sorry, and the drop attack, right? 2 really crucial things. And then a HP burn from the counterattacks of people under Hex. So let's just say an AoE champion like Lydia puts an ability out. He can go through and attack one of those champions with HP burn. Then you attack another Hydra head, 50-50 shot to place another burn. And it just makes sure that it's up all of the time. Also for like Demon Lord Clan boss or just bosses in general. Just as an ally attack champion, just by having Hex up, brings a great value. And I love this champion. Also defense aura of 30% in all battles. There's his face down there. This champion is sick. So yeah, that was 11, 12, 13, and the final champion was the one from the Undead Hordes in Morrigaine, which I don't really need to read out because you guys know what she does by now. And let me know if you're going to be going for this champion. So that was the 14 on the list, and now let's briefly talk about the Forge sets. So there will be a buff to Instinct, this one here, which will now ignore 20% instead of the 15% of the enemy's defense. I believe that was the one, right? Let me just double check. Yeah, so a rebalance from 15% to 20. And then a new artifact set in a Defiance, which should be coming to the new Forge Pass, I believe, which has a damage mitigation of AoE attacks by 15% and defense plus 10%. And I think this is a phenomenal gear set for bosses in general to last for a longer time. So yeah, guys, that's gonna be all of the champions. I have now got 15 minutes to edit and upload this video, so wish me luck. And let me know which ones are your favorite from the bunch. And if you want to see some showcases on these champions, don't forget to drop a cheeky subscription so you don't miss out on those uploads. Catch you guys in the next one, and peace.